Have you ever heard the names Gog and Magog? They sound like something out of a fantasy novel, don't they? But these names actually appear in the Bible, specifically in the books of Genesis, Ezekiel, and Revelation. They're figures associated with the end times, and their story has fascinated and puzzled scholars for centuries. Who are they? Where do they come from? And what role do they play in biblical prophecy? Today, we're going to dive deep into the scriptures to unravel the mystery of Gog and Magog. Let's start where their story begins, in the book of Genesis. Chapter 10. This chapter is often called the Table of Nations. It lists the descendants of Noah's son Shem, Ham, and Japheth who repopulated the earth after the Great Flood. In verse 2, we find Magog listed as one of the sons of Japheth. So, right from the start, Magog is identified as a real person, the grandson of Noah and the ancestor of a nation. The ancient Jewish historian Josephus connected the descendants of Magog with the Scythians, a group of nomadic warriors who lived north of the Black Sea. So, Magog isn't a place, but a person, and his descendants became a people group. Now, let's fast forward several hundred years to the prophet Ezekiel. This is where things get really interesting. In chapters 38 and 39, Ezekiel receives a dramatic prophecy from God. God tells him, "Set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him." Here, Gog is presented as a specific individual, a leader from the land of Magog. So, Gog is the ruler, and Magog is his territory, likely inhabited by the descendants of Magog from Genesis. Ezekiel's prophecy describes Gog as the leader of a massive coalition of nations. This army includes Persia, which is modern-day Iran, Cush, which is often associated with Ethiopia or Sudan, and Put, which is linked to Libya. It also mentions Gomer and Beth Togarmah, nations from the far north. This description paints a picture of a vast military alliance, led by Gog, coming from all directions, but especially from the north. And what is their target? The prophecy says, "They will come against my people Israel," a nation described as living in unwalled villages, peaceful and unsuspecting. Their motive is greed, to seize plunder and carry off great wealth. The prophecy describes this invasion as happening in the latter years or latter days. Gog's army is described as a cloud covering the land, a massive, overwhelming force. It looks like a hopeless situation for Israel. But this is where the prophecy takes a turn. God declares that he will intervene directly. He says, "My hot anger will be aroused. I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, and burning sulfur on him, and on his troops, and on the many nations with him." God's intervention is not just about saving Israel. It's about making a statement to the entire world. God says, "And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord." The defeat of Gog and his massive army is designed to be a clear, undeniable demonstration of God's power and sovereignty. The prophecy in Ezekiel 39 goes on to describe the aftermath. The defeat of Gog's army is so complete that it will take the house of Israel 7 months to bury all the dead, just to cleanse the land. The sheer number of weapons left behind will provide fuel for 7 years. It's a description of total and utter annihilation, brought about not by human armies, but by God himself. So, for centuries, people have tried to identify who Gog and these allied nations might be in the modern world. Given the reference to the far north, many interpreters throughout history have pointed to Russia. The names Meshech and Tubal have been speculatively linked to Moscow and Tobolsk, cities in Russia. With Persia being modern Iran and other nations located in North Africa and the Middle East, this prophecy paints a picture of a future conflict involving a coalition led by a northern power against Israel. Of course, these are interpretations, and no one can say for certain. The Bible's focus is less on specific geopolitical maps and more on the spiritual reality, a final satanically inspired rebellion against God and his people. Now, let's jump to the very end of the Bible, to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, here. The names Gog and Magog reappear, but in a slightly different context. This event takes place after the 1,000-year reign of Christ on earth, known as the millennium. According to Revelation, at the end of this 1,000-year period of peace, Satan will be released from his prison. And what does he do? The text says he will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. In this instance, Gog and Magog aren't specific nations or leaders from the north. Instead, the names seem to be used symbolically to represent all the rebellious nations of the world from every corner of the globe. They represent humanity's final, ultimate rebellion against God. Just like in Ezekiel, they gather to surround the camp of God's people, the city he loves. And just like in Ezekiel, the outcome is the same. The rebellion is swiftly and decisively crushed by God. The text says, "But fire came down from heaven and devoured them." This is the final battle, the end of all opposition to God, leading to the final judgment. So, are the events in Ezekiel and Revelation the same battle? It's a topic of much debate among theologians. Some believe they are the same event, with Revelation providing a different perspective on Ezekiel's prophecy. Others believe they are two distinct battles. The battle in Ezekiel, they argue, happens before the millennium, triggering a series of end-time events. The battle in Revelation clearly happens after the millennium. The timing is different. The participants are also described differently. In Ezekiel, it's a specific coalition of nations led by Gog. In Revelation, Gog and Magog is a symbolic term for all the rebellious nations of the earth, gathered by Satan himself. Regardless of whether it's one battle or two, the central message remains consistent. The story of Gog and Magog serves as a powerful reminder of God's ultimate sovereignty and victory. It shows that no matter how powerful human rebellion may seem, no matter how overwhelming the forces arrayed against God's people might appear, God's plan will prevail. These prophecies are not meant to scare us, but to give us confidence. They assure believers that history is not random. It's moving toward a conclusion where God will right all wrongs and establish his kingdom forever. The story of Gog and Magog is a dramatic illustration of the biblical truth that in the end, God wins. So, to recap, Magog was a real person, a grandson of Noah. His descendants became a nation. Gog is a leader from that land of Magog who, in the latter days, will lead a coalition of nations to attack Israel, as described in Ezekiel. This invasion will be met with direct divine intervention and end in their complete destruction, revealing God's power to the world. Then, at the very end of time, after the millennium, the names Gog and Magog are used symbolically in Revelation to describe a final worldwide rebellion against God, which is also instantly crushed by fire from heaven. The story is a profound prophetic picture of humanity's final conflict and God's ultimate triumph. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating biblical topics. Let us know in the comments what you think about the prophecies of Gog and Magog. See you in the next video.